Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Brand Spotlight. We are on episode 8. I just want to welcome everybody. We are streamed on LinkedIn Live. We are on Facebook as the Brand Spotlight. We are streaming to YouTube to our channel, thebrandspotlight.com. And for everybody who sees the replays, thank you so much. We're also on audio podcasts, Apple Podcasts, as soon as the replay's over, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, etc. We have today with us Robert Strong with Pretty Tie. We'll get into the interview. This is episode 8 one more time. Thank you so much for everybody for joining us. Before that, I always mention our sponsor. That's the agency I've been building up. That's called Brands Connect. That's brands with a Z, BRANDZ. And the focus of that agency is to build custom marketing campaigns that are custom tailored to brand specific needs. What makes that exciting is that this podcast was actually an outgrowth of that agency. Without further ado, we'd like to welcome Robert of Pretty Tie. Robert, how are you today?
Not too bad, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. So we'll get right into the interview with my general first question. If you could describe your brand in a sentence or two, how would you describe it?
Oof. Yeah, so we are a chef-driven line of culinary sauces and spices. And that's really the focus is the culinary aspect of the products.
Does that mean you mainly market to chefs or to the general consumer?
No, that's the best part. Yeah, we go right to the direct consumer. We want people to have a really high quality culinary experience in their own home. So we really give you the tools, which is our product, and you can create your own restaurant quality experience right in your own kitchen. We make it really simple and easy to do with our prototype products.
That's amazing. That's very simple, very straightforward, and hits directly to the target market as everybody's going into this gourmet space. Everyone wants something that's our palates have been developed because of availability over the last few years. It actually went through a metamorphosis because we went from everybody crafting products at home to commercializing everything, which made a lot of the products go to a little bit lower quality, and now there's a resurgence of the availability of these amazing products. When did you start this brand? How long ago?
Yeah, so we actually started it about 9.5 years ago, but we were a food truck at the time. So it was my wife and I who started the business. We were pretty tight for a white guy food truck right out of culinary school here in South Austin. And we pivoted to the Pretty Thai brand CPG about 2 to 3 years after that is when we started to actually bottle our sauces that we were creating on our food truck.
Got you. So I do want to get more into the story, but before that, of the origin story of your food truck, how you got into the food truck, how you got into culinary school, that whole journey over there. Before that, I do want to go back to the brand. So we spoke about the brand mission, the culinary experiences. I want to speak about the products that you do have. What are your product categories and or products that you currently have available?
Yeah, so we currently have 8 SKUs available. We do 5 sauces and 3 spices. We we obviously are, authentic Thai authentic Thai fusion. We use a lot of authentic ingredients, so we can be either in the international or world section of retailers. But we're also in the condiment set of, in Texas here at HEB and in Meyer in the Midwest, we're in the condiment set because we are, a versatile product line. So we fall within condiment, spices, and then even here in HEB, we have a cooking connection set, and we're in that set as well. So we're in 3 different locations within HEB stores.
That's amazing, and essentially that allows you to scale into all those 3 different categories.
Yeah, yes, and then obviously the cooking connection one that highlights the culinary aspect, like I talked about at the opening, with the products and how easy they are to cook with and use.
Okay, so now that we know about your products, I do want to go to the origin story, and I want to know about the differences between each of your sauces, and spices, how you develop them. But I found that usually that comes along with the origin story because the launch of those products are usually a direct result of that journey. That's what I've found.
Yeah.
So if you could take us back, we won't go just back yet to the culinary school, a little bit high level. What prompted you to open the food truck?
Yeah. So I'm prior military, and it was actually my second tour to Iraq that I ended up going to taking a trip to Thailand. And I'd been cooking some Thai food a little bit. I was stationed in Hawaii, got introduced to Thai food there, and I just was blown away. I was just blown away by the culture. The people were so friendly. The food was just absolutely phenomenal. I've been eating really, really healthy for 6 months working with the Navy SEALs, and I'm not a Navy SEAL, but I was an analyst with them, and just eating really healthy. And I went nuts in Thailand. It was just mind opening. So ended up coming back, left that career in the military, and moved to Austin, Texas to go to journalism school, and saw the food truck scene and was just blown away. Where I'm from, Western New York, we didn't have that. And it was Top Chef Texas at the same time going on. So it was kind of like a dual thing. And I saw a commercial for Le Cordon Bleu, and I was like, oh, wow, I can do culinary school. But I didn't want to work on a line and just be a line cook. I wanted to have my own business. So when I saw the food trucks, I said, well, you could actually have your own business and be an entrepreneur in the culinary space. And so that's what got me into it and why I wanted to do the food truck. And I was actually just cooking in my kitchen on East Riverside one day, and wasn't even listening to that song. For some reason I was just singing, and all of a sudden it's like pretty Thai for a white guy. And I was like, whoa, that's a pretty cool name. So I started telling everybody I knew. And that was really the impetus for the food truck right there.
All right, wow, you're taking us back to the beginning of your journey. I love how this really came off of journalism and really off of the military. I'm
Yeah.
just curious what originally drove you towards military journalism and then the food truck. Let's break that apart.
Yeah. So military, I went to school in Ithaca, New York, college. I'm from New York. And, so we're 3.5 hours from New York City. And I remember, I was going to school during 9/11, and I remember that moment. I remember exactly where I was. A lot of my classmates had family from the city. So it was a pretty big deal, obviously, for everybody, but we were really close to it. And it just kind of sparked something in me, that servitude mentality. And, so I immediately wanted to try to join ROTC, but I was already too far along with my schooling. So I ended up joining the Air Force after I graduated from college. And that was what started that, as far as, the military. And then journalism school, I was just looking for something different. I'd done 2 years of the last 3 years of my life overseas in Fallujah, and I loved sports, and I wanted to be a sports broadcast journalist. But I'd always cooked. Like, I grew up around food. My mom was a cook and a waitress in our hometown diner. So I was around food. I just never did it because she always did it for me. But when I went out to college, I had to. And so I found out I was actually pretty good at it. I was good at putting things together, but I didn't have any background in it. So I ended up going between, a few different places. I picked UT Austin because they have kind of like an emphasis with sports broadcast journalism with obviously UT, and I wanted to do that. But again, I quickly realized I was really good at writing, but I didn't enjoy it. I didn't love it, and I was really passionate about food, and I really was geeking out about food. And walking into Le Cordon Bleu and talk about all the different things we were going to do, I was just getting so excited. I was like, I don't get excited like this talking about writing a paper. So that's really what got me and led me to go from the journalism into the culinary.
Cool. So I will dive a little bit deeper into the story, and I want to know, just for our audience and for myself, what Le Cordon Bleu is.
Yeah, so Le Cordon Bleu, it's originally from France. It's Julia Childs went to Le Cordon Bleu. It's the cooking school, culinary school, and so that was the school that I went to here in North Austin in 2012.
Cool. Back to your military experience. What I found more traditionally is that usually people start off really knowing from a much younger age before they even start school, if they're going to the military. It sounds like you had that 9/11 was an impetus for you to really develop that sense of servitude. I remember there was a unique I don't know the right word is not coming off my tongue, but there was a unique theme across America of this aspect of unity and service and defense for our country. So I do remember those feelings were really throughout. So it does make sense in that context that you wanted to join the military. Were you in school for anything specific at that time before that?
Yeah, I was actually a history major. I started off as social studies education, then I switched over to just history. So that was what my and I was going to be a high school social studies teacher when I was in college.
What I love about your journey is that there's a lot of different moving parts even before you start this food, and it to me just from an outside perspective it sounds like you've really embraced the really the diversity. You know, there's history, which is one aspect, looking at the past, seeing the context of the times. There's the military, which brings forth the idea of defense and sacrificing and standing for our country, which I didn't yet. Thank you so much for your service. We all appreciate that. And then the change of scenery to journalism, sports journalism. You seem to be really liking the like I said before, the cultural diversity of all these different passions that are around in the world. And then it sounds like you really just became obsessed with food for yourself. Did I get your story correctly?
Sure. Yeah, and I joined obviously joined the military was sparked by 9/11, and it really just kind of hit something within me, like it did with so many in this country. Um, and then after serving in the military and then spending 2 years over in Fallujah, some of the some amazing experiences working with some of the most elite forces in this whole entire world. You just see what you see, and you see how good we have it in the United States, and but you also see how short life can be, and you just want to go after things. So that's really what sparked the entrepreneurial spirit within me. I think is that I just saw that life's too short to be miring in the muck, I guess. But you see, it's worth going after, and that's really what triggered me onto this journey with the culinary side of things, and just to be passionate about what you're doing.
I see you look at your entrepreneurial journey as moving away, if I got your words correctly, of as murking in the mud, and your entrepreneurial journey as that meaningful thing to go after. Can you unpack that a little bit?
Yeah, I think I grew up in a very lower income household. My mother was a waitress, and she didn't have a high school education, and my father got his GED. And just seeing how hard she had to work just to put food on the table for me and my sister. I wanted more. I wanted to take what she gave to me, and I wanted to turn it into something more. I think that's what every generation is supposed to do, right? It's supposed to build on the previous, and that's what I've always tried to do, and pay it forward to her, for working so hard, but saying that there's more to this life than just waiting tables and work. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I am who I am because of who my mother was, and what she gave to me, and how hard she worked. But I think she did it so that I could have better, and do more. And that I've always looked back on that and use that as a driving force.
That's amazing that you're able to take that inspiration that you saw from that hard work you saw at home, and there is a certain element that we sometimes see of almost looking down at it, but no, you actually looked at it as they work so hard to get where they are. Now you have it a little bit better. You almost have a duty to make it even better. Did I did I catch that?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. The duty, that she didn't sacrifice everything she sacrificed just so that I didn't, go after and give it my 100%. With this one opportunity we have here on Earth. So yeah.
That's amazing. Now, I do want to get into the formation of Pretty Thai. You did mention you were surrounded by Thai culture. You became obsessed with their food. You became obsessed with food in general, the food truck scene too. You became obsessed with their food, with the Thai food, and then Pretty Thai kind of basically you got obsessed with the with that music, and then that's what launched your food truck. Can I hear more about that story?
Yeah. So again, I like to, I tend to think I have a decent sense of humor. I like to lead with my sense of humor a lot. And so, obviously just listening to music in the early 90s and Offspring and the Pretty Fly for a White Guy, that was popped in my head. And I thought, wow, that's funny. And that's punny, and everything about it is very punny. So that's where I went with that as far as the food truck and the food truck name. And that's what, kind of led off and kind of gave us our footing. But yeah, just falling in love with food and then using my background with the military, and the attention to detail that you had to have, especially in the environments that I was in, to apply that to the food and running a business and a food truck business, which, I was new to business. I have no business background. As a history major, I have a military intelligence background, no business background. So everything was just, and still is just, learning as you go, on the job training, and just figuring it out. But if you have that attention to detail to where you're willing to put in the hard work and grind it out and not cut corners. So that's what we wanted to do with the food truck is, provide a high quality experience. And that's what we did. And that's what we've also done with Pretty Thai. You just keep taking that, attention to detail, refusing to cut corners with what we provide. So yeah, the food truck was a great experience. It was a great learning experience, and we started seeing some really good traction and visibility within the first 6 months. But people would come up to us and they would eat one of our dishes that we had our sweet chili sauce in, and they'd be like, "Wow, this is amazing! This sauce is so good. Can I buy it?" And that's when we started looking into, does it exist in this form? And we realized really quickly it doesn't. It doesn't exist in this form. It exists in a much worse form that we felt like we could do better. And that's what led us down the path of going from food truck into a product company.
Okay, back a little bit. I'm a little bit harping on the food truck. This is a question that fascinates me about most many companies. You are obsessed with food. You like the Thai culture. However, I'm sure you like food from many cultures. What was the thing that really made you not only choose that, but really stick to it? It takes a lot of hustle, determination, grit, passion, and commitment to be able to stay with the brand mission for that long. So there must have been something a little bit more, a little bit deeper that you really felt good about this brand.
Yeah, well, I had Thai food I think the first time I ever had Thai food was in Hawaii, in Waikiki. And honestly, I don't really remember the experience. Um, it was the first meal I had when I was in Bangkok, and and it probably was just like a regular old little restaurant. It wasn't anything fancy. I just remember biting into the dish, and I bit into these what I didn't know was fresh green peppercorns, and just like my palate was like, "Thank you," and it was just like something like opened up, and I started just trying different things and trying as much as I could possibly try there, and realized like, one, I've never tasted flavors like this, not in this combination. Growing up eating meat and potatoes, that's what I knew of. My mom was a really good cook, diner food, burgers, all that kind of stuff. So that's what we grew up eating. But there was something about Thai food and the flavors and how they made the flavors kind of just like dance, and you'd get every bite, you get something different. And it wasn't muddled. It was very, you could understand every flavor, every profile. It really intrigued me. So I started cooking more of it when I got back to the States, and it just kind of stuck with me. And then I'm working at a few, Thai restaurant and another, upscale fancy restaurant here in Austin, and playing around with more of those flavors. It just further just like made me realize like my palate just craves these flavors. If there's one cuisine I could eat like every day of the week, every day of the year, it would be Thai food. And that's what really kept me going. And then I started realizing how versatile the flavors were. Because, on the food truck, we started off with a menu and it was very specific. And then you started getting requests. We were at a very busy bar. People were drinking. They wanted certain things. So they would come up to us and they'd start asking us for nachos and burgers and all these things. And I'm like, no, I want to do this really like, things that I learned in culinary school. I'm going to apply it. And it was all out the window. And we started had to be really creative. So we, 2 o'clock in the morning, somebody wants nachos. We look at each other and say, let's make nachos. And then all of a sudden we're being reviewed by Thrillist as having the best nachos in Austin. And our nachos are being featured on Eat Street on the cooking channel. And that's just because we were just being creative. And I realized how to tap into the Thai flavors and how you could merge them with all of their cuisines. And that's what we've been doing here with Pretty Thai now for the last 6-7 years, is bringing the Thai flavors to your everyday. Whatever you grew up eating, whatever you eat, whatever you love eating, if it's not Thai food, you can take our products and you can bump it up, I say pretty tied up, using our products with any kind of cuisine you can think of. And it's going to work really well. And it's going to be unique and it's going to give you something different. And so it's not so boring, pedestrian. Every day is the same thing.
That's interesting. I heard you talk about really that once you discovered it, it became a very simple flavor profile that you enjoyed, and you started incorporating it into your everyday life on a personal basis. Another thing that I was hearing, that I was also listening to, is the fact that as you were getting into the business, it wasn't just about traditional Thai food, just another traditional Thai food. You actually became an expert in how to leverage, I'm speaking too many business terms, but I guess that's what I'm around, that how to leverage Thai food, Thai spice, Thai sauces and Thai style for the everyday meals.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I remember one story I tell often is when I was in culinary school, and I already had the idea for the food truck. And I remember we were doing French onion soup, and we were putting up, in the salamander, we were melting the Gruyere cheese on top. And I remember all of a sudden just like, what does that smell? Man, I knew it was the Gruyere cheese, but it was triggering something. It smelled like fish sauce. The melting of the Gruyere cheese smelled like fish sauce. So I immediately was like, well, if that can smell like that, then we could use Gruyere cheese, with Thai food. Even though, they don't use a lot of cheese, we could use it with Thai food, and we could do it in a different way. So we would start using, the Gruyere cheese initially in our queso or our nachos, because those flavors kind of mimicked the fish sauce. And then, so that's when my brain always thought it was finding different ways of this ingredient blending with this cuisine because of the flavor profile, the smell of it, and how that could work together. And that's really where my brain goes. And now it's just a matter of like, and I challenge anybody that is tried our products or hasn't tried our products, that try to find the most outlandish way you can use our products on something, because I promise you, I've maybe thought of it. I've thought of a lot of ways of using it. We've used it from breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, drinks, cupcakes, frosting, you name it. We've done with our products, and most of the time it works. So it's just the fun of being able to do that and experience that and try something different.
Cool. Wow, that's a great journey. I do want to ask a little bit more about the food truck and that journey to CPG. Before that, I do have an important question. I do hear this word a lot, especially on social media and stuff. Cultural appropriation. How did that come into play? Were you accused of that, or was there? And what was the actual feedback from people of Thai origin?
We've had a few people reach out to us about that, and I'm a very honest person. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm not doing this to appropriate anything. I'm doing this because I'm trying to bring light to the amazing Thai culture. And I'm not Thai. I don't speak the language, but I speak the language of food, and I really appreciate it and I value it. And the reason why I'm doing it is because I had such a great experience in Thailand with the culture, and the people were so nice and so, welcoming. So for me, it's just a way of paying that experience forward and showcasing these flavors to people, because a lot of people think these flavors are weird. I'm like, they're not weird. They're amazing. They're explosive. So that's the way I always answer, is that, listen, I'm just being honest and genuine. I love the flavors and I really appreciate the culture. And I'm just trying to showcase it in a positive way. I'm not trying to appropriate anything. Where this country, and the reason why I joined the military and fought for it, was because this country is a melting pot, and people can come from anywhere and they can take on any aspect of our culture if they chose to do so. And I feel like that's just the way the world should be. It's just, as long as you're doing it for the right reasons, and you value it and you appreciate it, then there's nothing wrong with that. And that's the way we approach it, and that's the way we do it. And again, it's all out of love and appreciation.
Cool. Do you get feedback from Thai people?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the funniest thing all the time was, I'd say 99.9% of it is positive. We've had a few people on social reach out, like I said previously, but most of the time it's either when we were in the food truck and we'd have somebody stand in line for like 30 minutes to get a green curry, and they'd preface their order with, "By the way, I'm from Thailand." And I was like, "Well, that is awesome." I was like, "Well, then I really want to get your feedback on this after you have it." And they would literally stand in line for another 30 minutes. And this is an actual true story, with a woman at our food truck, and she waited in line. I was like, "Oh my God." I saw her the whole time, and I'm like, "Oh, what is she gonna say? What is she gonna say?" She gets up there and she's like, "I just had to tell you that was amazing. That's exactly like I would get it if I was in Thailand." And we got that with pad thai and all these really authentic dishes. That, listen, I'm a white guy cooking Thai food in Austin, Texas. I have no room for error. I had to do it the right way, and we did it the right way, and we still do it the right way when it comes to our pad thai. And so, yeah, I got great feedback at the farmers markets. We would get people all the time that were from Thailand, and they would try our stuff, and they're like, "Wow, this is really amazing." At food shows, same thing, and they're really hard on me too. They're like, "Well," and I'm like, "Well, this is the reason why." They're like, "Yeah, you're right." You know, Again, 99.9% positive. They feel the love. They appreciate that we're doing it the right way, and that we're not cutting corners, and we're using quality ingredients, and they just appreciate it.
Cool. I'm curious about that little hard time that you get. What's that usually about? The way you're making the stuff, the ingredients?
No, it's just somebody reaching out and seeing that, I'm a white guy doing Thai
Oh,
food, and they just accuse me of, cultural, appropriation. And again, I just am honest with them back, and then that's it. And they're like, "Okay, well, just let you know, somebody else might say something." And I'm like, "That's fine. I'm not nothing to hide. I'm here for the right reasons, and I'm doing it because I appreciate and value."
okay. Now I want to get back into the food truck. I know you mentioned when you started it. How long ago was that, and how long did you have that for?
Yeah, so we started the food truck in January 2013, and we operated for the first year. We operated in Austin, and then we moved it to Bernie, San Antonio area, where my wife's from, 2014, and we did that for most of 2014. And then we got burned out. We actually ended up moving to Southern California in 2015. That's where we actually started to actually sell the products really for the first time in farmers markets in Murrieta and Temecula in Southern California while we were there. But then we missed Austin. We missed the food scene there. We had the products now. We wanted to go back to the food truck and start doing the products on the food truck. And so we moved back the end of 2015 and started selling again in farmers markets, and with both the products and the food, until 2016, when we got discovered by Central Market here in Texas. And it was actually the wife and mother-in-law of the grocery manager at the North MR store were eating at our food truck like every week. And we didn't know. We were serving brunch at one of the farmers markets off our food truck. And she saw that we had products. She's like, "Oh, you have products?" I was like, "Yeah, no, we have products." I said, "Well, my husband's the grocery manager at North MR. You should go check him out." I'm like, "I'll check him out. Give me his info." And I did. and the whole team tried the products and they loved it and they wanted to bring us into the store. So at that point, we pretty much said, we were burnt out from the food truck. We got burnt out in 2013. We were, going hard, going late nights, 4 o'clock in the morning on, working 7 days a week, 16-hour days. And we just said, let's just sell the food truck and let's focus on the products. So we sold the food truck at the end of February in 2016 to focus on the products. We did keep catering. We catered really up until COVID started happening. We catered. That's really what kept us afloat as we've been building the brand, is just doing the catering too. So we've catered, you name it, house parties, private parties, pop-ups, corporate lunches in downtown Austin, you name it, we've done it, just to, pull some money in so we can keep on trying to sell the sauces.
You've mentioned we a number of times. Who is included in the
my
we,
wife,
I may ask?
my wife, Kristen. So if you go to our website, you'll see our story. You'll see Kristen. I always say, when the first question people ask me when we're sampling at the store is, "You're not Thai? Is your wife Thai?" And I was like, "Nope, she's from Bernie, San Antonio area." They're like, "Well, then why Thai food?" And I tell them the story about Fallujah and going to Iraq and all that. But no, she's just my partner in culinary crime. And we met in culinary school. We actually met on a food truck job for South by Southwest in 2012. It was for the NBC Today show, and unbeknownst to me, she was there. I got hired on by another individual that I knew. She got hired on by his partner, and we met on that job. And we started cooking and hanging out. And so she was just like this amazing chef already. I'm like, you're just started culinary school. How are you so good? Well, she studied 4 months in Italy, in Florence, with culinary. So she had a nutrition degree from Texas A&M. She got a really green thumbs. Like, she's just, really, really talented, hardworking. So we started this together, and we've, been doing it still together. I'm bringing on more people now, but it's just, still me and her are the core. And she's at home with our daughters, and she's, making videos and making recipes and helping out whenever she can.
That's amazing. I love that story. I do want to focus. It does sound like your food truck journey had ebbs and flows. You originally started the food truck. You really wanted to go on that entrepreneurial journey, and it sounds like you did very, very well. You moved to different parts of Texas. You went to California, then you focused a little bit more on the sauces, a little more on the sauces. But it sounds like you went back to Texas, focused again on the food truck. I'm actually curious. You could have gone in a different direction. It does sound like you really focused having one food truck, and eventually you sold that food truck. You could have gone in a different direction and opened more Thai restaurants, more Thai food trucks. Was there a reason you chose not to do that?
Yeah, I think looking at it, seeing, the restaurant business, especially during COVID now, you really see it. It's really highlighted, but it's not. Listen, CPG is not easy either. There's a whole different set of things. People ask me all the time that are on the restaurant side, and they want to bottle something, what's the difference? I'm like, it's night and day. It's absolutely night and day. But at the time, I didn't know that. All I knew was how difficult the food truck business is and the restaurant business is, like, truly, truly how difficult it is. And I'm not afraid of difficult, but I just saw a light at the end of the tunnel with CPG, because we were looking at doing our own restaurant. We were researching it in Bernie, and it was going to be $2 million to buy this property and do this build out. And at the time, like, do we have that in us? Do we want to be in this restaurant 7 days a week for the next 10 to 15 years, to do it the right way? And the answer to that was no. We didn't want that. We wanted, to build something, and we wanted to be able to spend time with our family and take trips, which ironically, we very rarely take trips. We very rarely take trips because the CPG space is also extremely difficult. But that was the reason why I saw a light in the tunnel. I saw a need, a gap in the market for what we're doing. And I'm just stubborn, and I'm persistent. And I know, just like our distributors told us here last year when we got into Meijer in the Midwest, and he's like, your guys' products are really on trend now. And I was like, yeah, I appreciate that. I said, we've been doing it this way for the last 5-6 years. People are just realizing now that they want a restaurant quality experience in their kitchen. They were forced to eat at home. They were forced to cook at home. They didn't want to give up that quality. but they don't have time, but they want that quality. They don't want to get compromised on anything. And like, well, we don't compromise, and we allow it so that you don't have to compromise. So yeah, so I think it's, we are giving them that restaurant. It's just our restaurant is your kitchen.
Cool. I love it. That's a great story. Now, I still want to focus in that time when you went to SoCal. It sounds like that's when you started going to farmers markets and selling the sauces. Was that your plan? Were you trying to open up a food truck over there? How did that transition work to start selling this from opening a restaurant, from opening a food truck to start selling sauces, even on that smaller scale?
Yeah, no, the goal was never actually. This is another, one of my, I don't know what you call it, Robertisms or whatever. But again, after being in Fallujah and being over there for 2 years and seeing what you see and realizing how short life is, you want to do what you're passionate about when you love. And I almost went to golf school before I even went to Austin. So we actually moved to Southern California so I could go to golf school in Temecula, and then Kristen worked at a small Italian restaurant, and we were just doing the sauces on the weekends. And but we quickly realized, like, in order to do this and actually make this work, like, we need to do this more full time. And again, we were missing Austin, we were missing the food scene here. And we did miss the food truck a little bit. I think once we got back in the first 3 months of running it again, we were like, okay, there's a reason why we didn't want to do this. But we wanted to do the sauces. We wanted to give you the experience. So yeah, no, California, never really thought about doing a food truck there. They asked us all the time, "You bring the food truck?" We're like, "No, we're not driving that thing from Austin out here. We're not doing that." Didn't want to do a restaurant at that point. I think there's still a little bit of the image, Joe. Like I would never put down the idea of potentially having a Pretty Thai concept with food, but we're gonna see Pretty Thai product through to the finish line for sure before we even think about getting into that. That's the one thing I've gotten better at over the last few years, is really kind of staying within my lane and staying focused, instead of being like squirrel, 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 squirrel. Where's the squirrel at? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a problem with us entrepreneurs.
Yeah, for sure.
What's actually interesting is that today it's much easier than ever before. You could literally start with one product one fast food. I'll use the word fast food product, but I mean one restaurant. I shouldn't use fast food. One restaurant product out of a ghost kitchen, list on Postmates and Uber Eats and all those platforms, and you can do it. But it sounds like you're really focusing on the product. When did you start? How many sauces did you, or when you started selling at farmers markets, how many sauces and spices did you sell? Did you start with one? Did you start with a bunch at a time? Are those the same ones you have now, or what was the evolution of that process?
Yeah, so we started with 5 products, and they were all based off of the food truck and the recipes we were creating. So the very original, well, actually the OG original one that we don't even sell right now, I literally sell it only to like rabid fans that I make like special batches for and ship them to them, as our lemongrass lime dressing. That was one that like is still probably my favorite. It's the original one. It was the flavor profiles that I first attached onto with like a steak salad of mint and cilantro. Was the first dish I ever cooked out of a Food and Wine magazine, and I turned that into the sauce. So that was the original. That was actually my signature dish on the food truck, and it's just such a versatile product. But it's really Thai, fish sauce, lime. Like it's you've got to really love that flavor profile, and a lot of people do. The sweet chili sauce was our anchor. It was like the one that hooked everybody, and we created that one within like the first 2 weeks of being on the food truck with our sweet chili peanut chicken, which is now our sweet chili fried chicken dish on our website. And it was just immediately like our gateway dish. People would get it. They didn't know what Thai food was. We got them to try it because it said fried chicken on it. They tasted it. They would share it together. Like a couple would come up and they'd buy one and they'd share it. Then they'd come back and they're like, we're not sharing next time. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. You can get 2. We'll allow you to do that. And then they would just, for like 6 months, they'd eat that same dish. And they'd come up and they'd be like, oh my God, that's so amazing. That sauce is so good. And that's what people would ask me about, the sauces. And then we had our seasoning salt. that we used on our burger and our nachos and our fries and everything we did there. And then we had our the green curry, which we made fresh from scratch. My wife was able to turn that into a powder form, which you just have to take fresh garlic, cilantro. So you got to do a little bit of cooking with that. Like we still want you to enjoy the experience of cooking, because that's what we did when we met. We fell in love cooking together. We thought it was really therapeutic and it was just a good time. So we turned that into a green curry powder, and then the Thai chili powder, which I just quickly discovered was just like the best spice known to man. I haven't found one that's better. It's spicy, it's earthy, it's clean, it blends with all the ingredients. It allows you to taste everything, but it can really make things harmonious. The dish is harmonious. I think spice is crucial when done properly. It's just phenomenal in food. So those were the first 5 products that we had on the shelf in retailers, and then we had to drop the dressing a few years ago, and then we've added 4 more since. We've added different sauces. So I actually created our Thai peanut sauce when I was at Central Market talking with the foodies, and they're like, Robert, we don't have a good peanut sauce. Can you make a peanut sauce for us? Because these peanut sauces we have on the shelf, like no joke, like this foodie program, they're amazing and they will lead you, but they won't give you bad advice as a consumer. Like if they don't like it, they're not going to tell you to get it. And they're like, we can't share any of these. Corporate's making us get all these and we don't like it and we can't share it. Can you make one for us? And I said, okay. So I started asking customers what they wanted, what they liked. And it took me like a year. They'd come up to me and they'd be like, Robert, how's that peanut sauce coming? And I'm like, it's coming. You can't rush this process. And we get the peanut sauce. Now the peanut sauce is like literally like neck and neck with the sweet chili as far as popularity. And I never thought the sweet chili would get overtaken by anything. But the Thai peanut sauce is getting close to doing that. And then the Muay Thai sauce, which is my personal favorite of the products we currently have on the shelf, is it's really unique. It's like a grown-up sriracha without all the junk. It's got fish sauce in it, so it's more unique. It's not vegan. You know, we're working on an idea for a nice, you know, vegan sriracha, but right now this one's just so addictive. I use it in so many ways. And then the Tiger Smirk sauce, which is our newest, which is kind of like a play off of, these are naming conventions. Sweet chili, everybody knows. Thai peanut, everybody knows. So they go after it. They try it like, wait, this is way better than what I've been getting by this name. Muay Thai, they have no idea what it is. It's Muay Thai. It's like Muay Thai kickboxing. It's got a Thai kick, right? It's a hot sauce. It's a condiment. It's a stir fry sauce. Tiger Smirk was talking with my buyer at HEB, and I was like, I got this sauce. I want to call it Thai chimichurri. He's like, I don't know if people are going to get Thai chimichurri. I was like, well, I don't know what else to call it. And he's like, well, just give me some options. And I was like, you know what? Tiger Smirk. It's my sense of humor. It's like Tiger Cry, but it's not spicy. So I said, why make a tiger cry when you can make him smirk? Put a grin on your grill. Go to the grill. It's a great grilling sauce. You know, I want to make you smile, smirk, be happy, not like, oh my God, this is too spicy. So it's just got really great flavor profiles. It's just really unique. It's one of those, like, I always say, you either love it right away. Like, wow, this is my new favorite sauce. Or it's like one of your favorite bands, and they come up with a new album, and you listen to the album, and you're like, oh, this isn't as good as their last album. And then after you hear it, you're like, wait a minute, no, this is my new favorite album. And the Tiger Smirk is that sauce. You either love it right away, or it eventually gets you, and you eventually love it if you keep using it, because there's, again, so many ways of doing it. And then the Pad Thai. The Pad Thai is probably the one I'm the most proud of. We actually had the Pad Thai in the food truck in the very beginning. I ended up changing the formulation as far as, you know, the way it was presented. Still stuck to all the authenticity with all the ingredients, real palm sugar, dried shrimp, pickled radish, tamarind, you know, none of the fake, all the real. And that was, you know, people always ask me, why do you spell it the way you spell it? Why is it? And I may ask you that question too, but PAT versus BAD, because, you know, PAT, it's just fried in Thai. And there's multiple ways you can spell it. PAT, PHAT, PHAD, PAD. And one of my, you know, mentors, he doesn't know it, David Thompson, who's one of the most, you know, renowned Thai food experts, you know, from Australia. He's another white guy from Australia that just fell in love with Thai food. I read an article one time where he said, I won't eat Thai food in the West because the Thai culture is way too nice, which they are. And they'll basically like cater to our Western palate, which loves things overly sweet and done differently. He's like, it's basically been bastardized, so I won't eat Thai food in the West. So I said, well, I'm not going to bastardize this pad Thai. I'm going to do it the right way, and I'm going to spell it PAT like he does versus PAD. And it definitely causes troubles here with retailers because they like to spell it PAD. I'm like, no, we don't bastardize our pad Thai. We spell it the way it's supposed to be spelled based off of the ingredients that are in there. So that's, a roundabout way of saying those are our current SKUs. The seasoning salts no longer on the shelf of HEB. We still sell it online. We had to change the formulation. We couldn't grind the spices, so but it's still really, really high quality, and you can do so many different things with it. But those are the SKUs right now that we currently have.
Cool. Were you able to send to your mentor? I forgot it. What was his name?
No,
again?
I've never seen. No, David Thompson. No, he doesn't know. He doesn't know that he's inspired me and helped me along. I have his cookbook, and when Kristen and I first met, I think like the first month, and we were still kind of like we weren't like dating yet. She wanted to date me, and I was just playing hard to get. She bought me a Thai food street book, that I saw in one of the bookstores, and it was from David Thompson. So it basically was like my Bible. And then I got his other Thai food book, and then I just notes and notes and notes in there, and the pages are falling apart. But I just use it to just like get inspiration and think the way to look at things and think about things and ingredients. And yeah.
Where is he based?
Well, he's Australian, so he's from Australia, and then he has just a bunch of different restaurants in Australia, in Thailand, and Bangkok. So yeah, you look him up. He's pretty world renowned as far as Thai. Yeah.
After the show, we'll try to find his publicist, his mailing address. We'll try to get him some handwritten note. I'm sure that would be fun.
Yeah, I'll send him my pad Thai sauce and have him make it and see what he says.
Let's see if we can do that. That would be a fun project. Back to your Tiger Smirk. I really like not just the name, but I feel like it brought out an element that you really shown through your personality throughout this entire interview. It sounds like you're not trying to make it a heavyweight, intimidating experience. You're looking to take an authentic heavyweight, so to speak, a real experience, and make it light and fun and easy for people to digest. But then again, similar with the balancing the advice of your mentor, not bastardizing the flavor and the taste of that, keeping it real, keeping it authentic, and still keeping it approachable. I really love that, and I feel like that's really shown throughout the interview, your personality, and that seems to be showing throughout your brand. So that's pretty cool.
I know, I appreciate that. That's exactly what that's exactly what we're trying to do.
Now, another thing that I noticed throughout the interview, but actually I do want to ask a question before that. When you say it took you a year to develop the Thai peanut and you were getting feedback, making it for people, getting feedback, where did you find those consumers? Did you still have the food truck at that time, or did you have to look at friends and family?
Well, we use friends and family as well, and most people say don't do that, but my wife's family is actually very honest. So they give us very honest feedback. Like they're our consumer, 100%, and they will tell us when they don't like something. When they do like something, we don't have to worry about them pulling punches or being biased. So we use them as well, friends as well. But I mean, I had retailers, I had stores. We were in Central Market. I'd go demo every Saturday in Austin stores, or travel up to Dallas and do all the Dallas stores over a weekend. And I just ask the customers what they liked about it, what they wanted, in a peanut sauce. And ultimately, I make the products to my palate, right? Like when I was in culinary school, and one of my chefs said, I'm not trying to brag here, but he's just like, Robert, he's like, I've taught a long time. He's like, you probably have one of the top palates that I've ever taught out of a student. And I'm like, I really appreciate that. Like, I feel like I have a neutral palate to most consumers, to where like salt levels, these spice, balancing these flavors, like what I like, I feel like a lot of people do like as well. So I've always led with that. I've always went with my gut when it comes to a product. And if, I'm going to listen to the consumer, but at the end of the day, if I don't like it, I'm not going to put it out. I'm just not going to do it. So, I just don't like to compromise in that sense. Like I have to love what I put out and I have to believe in it.
Just to clarify, you demoed before you had the product available?
Oh, I wasn't demoing the actual product. I was just asking them questions about it. I was like, so I'm working on a Thai peanut sauce. Do you guys like peanut sauce? And then most people were like, yeah, we love peanut sauce. And I was like, well, what do you like about it? Like, what are you looking for? And they would just give me answers, and I would just take that and mental notes, and then just use that as I was developing the product.
Wow. Thank you so much. I really feel like we got a holistic view of the journey of your personal journey and what led you from learning all about history, trying to become a high school teacher, going through the military, eventually going to journalism school, getting into the food truck. Not enough, you still have to become a golf pro, and then going back into the food. It sounds like the Thai just kept on calling your name. Pretty Thai for a white guy, so that just kept on calling your name. If I was a little bit more advanced, I would be able to play that music. I have to learn how to do that. We can't. I don't know how to do that yet. And it sounds like you took us through that journey, and it sounds like along the way you did the food truck, you did a lot of farmers markets. At a certain point, you realized that you would have to, in order to have the lifestyle you want, you would have to essentially cut out the food truck and focus on the sauces. There seems to be a turning point, and I guess now we'll get into the marketing segment of this podcast, how you brought it to market. There seems to be a turning point when one of your customers, one of your food truck customers, had a buy-in into one of these big chains in Texas. And throughout the interview, you told me about the Thai peanut. It sounds like you really led your marketing efforts with the buyers of these stores, and that in conjunction with doing those farmers markets. So could you tell us a little bit about that journey when you really decided, okay, I'm going to focus on getting into stores, focus on retail, focus on consumer marketing? What was the split between demoing at farmers markets, and then what was the split between that and getting into stores? Were you only focused on stores coming to you? Did you also do brand outreach? Really, bringing your products to market. I'm curious to learn more about that.
Yeah, well, I'm terrible at marketing. So that's, I think, been our biggest hurdle. Like the food thing, we got that down. Like we love that, we're passionate about it. I'm a personable individual. I like talking to people. I love talking about food. So with, the retailers, I always wanted to build a relationship with them. And thankfully here with Central Market, that's what they were about. The foodie program they have is like, I've never seen that anywhere else, where they actually have people that they train to be food experts, so they can help you and help you through your shopping journey and experience, when you're in the store. So yeah, I really leaned on them and talked to them and just built relationships with them. And I kept it small. And again, I think because I didn't know marketing, and I still don't know marketing. We're bringing in, I have an e-commerce manager now, and I got a COO that's on the branding marketing side trying to help me out with things because we're doing our own manufacturing now. So I'm focused on that and controlling the quality of the product. Um, but marketing has just always been my bugaboo, Joe. And I just did it small because that's all I knew how to do. And I just kept it at the ground level with the people because that's all I've ever known. We went away from the farmers markets pretty early on after getting into Central Market and local stores here like Wheatsville and Austin and Tom's Market. Just because I really wanted to be into the retail food scene, and I saw an opportunity to, you know, I could go to Central Market and demo on a Saturday and Sunday and talk to 300, 400 people, and I didn't have to pay anything because, with our products at farmers market, like my friend who had pickles, who people would buy every week, they buy a new jar of pickles, so he would just kill it every week. For us, somebody bought a sauce, they might not consume that whole entire sauce for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks. You never know. I mean, you have sauces in your fridge right now that may have been there for a year. You don't, you know what I mean? So we'd have one great week and then we'd have 2, 3 terrible weeks. And we're like, I'd rather just go to Central Market and demo every Saturday and Sunday and get to talk to 300, 400 people and have them buy the product off the shelf. So that's what we really focused on doing. And I just demoed like for like, the first 2 years, I just demoed like every weekend, like so many demos, so many demos. And that's just like at some point it's gonna have to kind of start to work itself and pay off. But that's really been the focus. We're like I said, we're just starting to pay for stuff within the marketing space. Just starting to put out ads and do it. We've never done any of that stuff, and we're starting to see some traction on things, right? Because right now everything we've done has been organic, just completely organic with the growth, just visibility, the help through Central Market, and then with HEB, the help with them and marketing and pushing it out. Just the visibility you get from being in 220 HEB stores, right? So, but you would think that'd do more, and then you're like, wow, man, we still only have 1,000 followers on Instagram. We should have like 20,000 by now. But that's probably my biggest weakness. I don't know how to do that. I just know how to be real. And if you call me up at 10 at night on a Saturday and want to ask a question about how to make pad thai, if I'm awake, I'll answer the phone and I'll talk you through making pad thai. And I do that with customers all the time just because it's fun for me. And that's what we enjoy the most.
That's cool. You say you're not so good at marketing, but then you say you're also personable, and you also do a lot of demos. I'm getting a sense that you're very good at genuine organic marketing.
Sure. I just don't know all the algorithms and all the other things that you got to hit with Google and with Instagram and Facebook. That stuff just boggles my mind. I don't have the bandwidth for it. So yeah, I revert back to just being me and just being, genuine as I possibly can be. And just, why we started this in the first place was to bring people together through food and talk about food and help people have a better culinary experience at home.
I do want to speak about that because this is a subject I'm somewhat passionate about. I'm not so into those vanity metrics, and any vanity metrics and algorithms and even any sort of paid ads are only going to amplify what you have organically, and it's not going to be convert as at that high of a level. It is much more scalable, so there is a place for that, but having the grassroots is, in my opinion, the most important. So I just had to stick that preaching in. uh I am curious, you said the farmers markets, you weren't converting as many as in the stores, and you don't have to pay anything for the stores. Is that because there's less foot traffic in farmers markets, or is it that it's the same foot traffic as opposed to
Yeah.
the people in the stores? It's different people every time.
Yeah. I see the same people sometimes in the stores, usually like on a Monday when you get like the cereal samplers that come by every single Monday. Oh, have I tried this before? Yeah, you tried it last week and the week before, and you never bought anything. Cereal sampler. But otherwise, yeah, farmers markets, it's like the same people. They come out, that's what they do on a Saturday or a Sunday. They come out. So they're like, oh yeah, I bought it last week. It's great. You won't see them in a month to buy it again because they already bought it. So we ran into that issue, right? Not so much an issue at the grocery store. And again, now you're like, hey, you can come any day of the week and get it right here. You don't have to wait till Sunday or Saturday. If you want to make this on a Tuesday, you're like, well, I'm really craving Thai food or these flavors right now, but I got to wait till Saturday to go to the farmer's market. No, you can just go get it on the shelf at your local Central Market.
Wow, that's really cool. It's good to really leverage. It's good to know when to leverage farmers markets, when to leverage stores. Do you find being on the shelf is enough, and you're just trying to get onto more shelves, or does each store need to have that demoing done?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, our products needs to be tasted to really understood. People see it and they'll walk by it, and I'll demo in HEB, and I would do a demo, and we're on the shelf for a year, and they're like, "Oh wow, oh I'm so glad you're here. I've seen this in the shelf, but I've just never wanted to take a chance on it." And I was like, "Well, I guess we're not doing a good job with our brand messaging on the shelf to where if you look at it and you see the bottle and it's clear and it's translucent, and we're all about like transparency, you didn't want to try it." Um, so yeah, I mean, it's definitely needs to be tasted, but I can't be in all those places at one time, and I've not yet found a good demoing program that I trust to do it. Because again, it's not like you're spending $300 on one of those for like 4 hours, and again, you're selling sauces versus like salsa or pickles or something that's like consumable right then and there. You can just eat it. You'll finish half of them in your car on the way home. You need a new bag tomorrow. This, you might not use it for a first week. You might not. It takes you 6 months to get through it. So it's just a different. It's a different thing. It's a different beast, and I'm trying to find creative ways to leverage my time. And me being only one person, we're still bootstrapping this thing, trying to find a way to get it in front of as many people as possible. And at some point, I would just hope that, hey, Pretty Thai, you've been eating our sweet chili and our Thai peanut sauce for 2 years now. We got this new Tiger Smirk sauce. I would hope that you just trust that, you trust the brand at this point and you just try it. But that's not always the case. It's frustrating. I really wish people would just say, you know what, I trust Pretty Thai. This is probably going to be really good too. Let me just pick it up. And I'm sure people are doing that, but based on the sales numbers, not as many as it should be.
Cool. Now I want to speak about the challenges with the demoing person. You say it's very expensive, and people don't buy it. Don't don't buy it quick enough because it lasts for a while. So it takes a while to actually see the returns. Do you feel it's just the cost prohibition, or is it more you're looking for someone who could really act as a brand that you could train and they can act as a really good brand ambassador for your
Yeah, I
products?
mean, obviously getting a good brand ambassador, having to pay 35, $40 an hour and spending all that money on that and then not getting the result you want. Because again, you're not going to get the ROI. I mean, you're going to have to sell through so many cases of product, and that's just not realistic. I'm the best brand ambassador and you know, I can only sell through so much in a 4-hour period. So I know that somebody else isn't going to be able to do any better than me. Again, it's not being cocky, that's just being realistic. So you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, well, what's the ROI on that? Then it's a straight pure marketing play at that point, just advertising, and how much can you put down on that? And then yeah, it's just a trust issue. Listen, so some people call me, OC. I am OCD about things, control freak. I guess it comes back to my military experience and so forth. I just like things done a certain way. So trusting that somebody can go in and speak about your brand and do it in the right manner, it's also scary because they have control over what people think. It's like when I was on the food truck and we make the pad thai and we make the pad thai perfect. We're like, this is the best pad thai I've ever had. This is the best pad thai in Austin. And then we say, okay, we're going to let our employees make the pad thai. We're going to take a Wednesday night off. We're going to go, we're going to take a break. And then that person that decides that they're going to Yelp, they drive out and they get the pad thai and so-and-so makes it, doesn't make it as good as Robert makes it. We get the 3-star Yelp review on not worth the trip. And I'm like, you didn't get it when Robert made it, So I remember those things and I'm like, God, I've got to have control of these things so that we can put our best foot forward. So that's kind of where some of that fear comes from as far as being able to trust. That's one of my biggest issues, Joe, is trusting other people to do things. I just kind of like, you can't do it right the first time. I'll take over. I'll do it. And I know in order to scale a business and grow, you have to be able to rely on other people. And I'm learning that and I'm starting to do that more and more. But yeah, it's been a weakness of mine.
Cool. That's actually pretty interesting. I will press a little bit more on this issue. Is it getting into stores? Is it strictly inbound, people coming to you, or are you doing outreach?
Honestly, I think it's mostly outreach, which again, we haven't done until recently. When we've done a few trade shows, finally this year was our first trade shows. And again, I stayed small just in Texas because, I had, Central Market and HEB. Those are really good routes. And then we actually went to Meijer. They accepted us in the first try. And then we've literally, the last 4 retailers we went to, they rejected us. So, it's humbling and frustrating. But we got an e-commerce piece that we're going after now that, I think there's a huge market for. That people can buy, food, and get it shipped to their house and actually enjoy doing that and trust that experience. So yeah, we've had a few people reach out to us. Nothing like significant from like a retail standpoint, like a big name or anything. They just, I guess they don't know about us yet. So eventually they will.
Have you seen an ROI? Trade shows are very expensive, and it sounds like you're starting to do them. Have you seen an ROI?
Not yet. Not yet. No, we had certain expectations after the Winter Fancy Food and Expo West we did back to back. this year because our whole market was, we're going from here. We want to go to Southern California because we really do believe that's like our strongest market, and people are going to understand and get the product right away. And so far, we're batting 0 with retailers in Southern California. So if any of them are watching, just hey, reach out to us.
Cool. Anybody? We are on LinkedIn Live. I love that platform because there are a lot of professionals there. So any retailers that want to try Pretty Thai, want to carry it, let me ask you: do you use a distributor, or are you able to, or do you do self distribution, and are you able to distribute nationally?
We do both. We go direct with HEB and all of our accounts here in Texas, and then we use KeHE for Meijer in the Midwest. So we could obviously expand and grow with KeHE throughout the country, wherever they, are at, whichever retailers they work with. And again, if the right retailer wants you, that's going to open up distribution to whomever, distributors that they work with. So, at some point, it's pretty much, they got the keys to the kingdom. They can let you in if they want to. So yeah, I mean, we have the capability to go national.
Got you. So if a mom and pop in California says, "I want to carry your product, I want to order a case," you're able to deliver on that.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, reach out to us via email. We're on Faire as well, so we do ship through Faire. So if they get on Faire.com, they can go that route, and that's really good for the mom and pop stores that can't get the distribution through UNFI and KeHE. So yeah, 100%.
Cool. Now I want to shift to your direct to consumer. It sounds like you got finding the buyers for Central Market came in a very organic way. You got into Meijers, that also came with a little bit more of a hustle. Were you always available online, or was that something new? And when did you shift to start actually focusing on that?
We've been available online. Yeah, we've always been available online. We were on Amazon prior to going to HEB in 2016. We were actually Prime, and then we dropped when we went to HEB because of our exclusivity with HEB here in Texas. But we just recently got back on Amazon here at the beginning of this year, and that's starting to go pretty well. I think it was around the beginning of this year when we started to really see, from COVID, the trend towards e-commerce and how much of like a market share that e-commerce was taking from retail. And because when we talked to a company like 3-4 years ago that specialized in Amazon, and they came to us and they, just said straight up, like, we're looking at the numbers, Sriracha's only doing X amount of sales a month. They should be doing this much. Like, we just don't see a demand for the products that you're selling right now. So we'd be just stealing your money from you if we took your money to try to do this, probably. And I was like, no, I appreciate it. So we didn't really push hard in that route. We didn't think people were ready to really be consuming, food items via e-commerce at the rate they are now. But we saw that shift. So e-commerce is a quicker turnaround time. You go to a retailer, a big one, name no names here, but it could take 6, 9, 12 months from the start to get on the shelf. That's a long lead time. It's a lot of time going into that, paying brokers, doing all this kind of stuff to make that happen. With e-commerce, you just have to do the right marketing and get in front of the people and push the right buttons, and boom, somebody sees it, they can order immediately from their couch and have it in 2-3 days. So cool. It's a lot quicker turnaround. You get paid quicker. You don't have to worry about that big long lead time.
I want to get back into e-commerce in a minute because you did mention you just brought on someone, and part of it, I don't know if all of his role or part of his role is for e-commerce. So I'm curious about that. I do want to take a little bit of a break and transition into your packaging. So I looked at the website. Your packaging looks incredible. Very, very nice. Very appealing to the eye. I wonder if I can actually share your website here. Maybe I should do that. Let me share your website. Let me see if I can do that quickly. Pretty Thai Brands. I'm just going to share the website on the screen so we can discuss it while.
We actually just transitioned from Squarespace to Shopify this week. So our website, our new Shopify site's actually only been up live for the last couple of days. It's very similar manner to our Squarespace, but obviously more functionality, more focused on the e-commerce.
1 second. Let me make sure I know what I'm doing here. There we go. Oh. Sounds like I have to be on that screen. Oh, Chrome tab. Okay. Here. Share. So we're sharing it. I just want to make sure. Yeah, we keep on seeing it. So I want to see if I go down. Yeah. Okay. So your images, your branding, the food, it pops. If I go into the shop, so I could see.
You click on one of those pop-ups there from the shop.
Yeah. So you see, I'm just going to quickly scroll through, and it will have audio listeners. So I'll describe it a little bit, and then I want you to take us through the thinking and the design. The font is very, very clean with a little bit of logo that says the name of the company. Then it says exactly what it is: green curry powder, pad thai. I can't pronounce this ever. Muay, and then it says a little bit about it, a few certifications on the bottom. Very, very clean, sleek, and it's actually clear. The packaging is clear, so you can see the product. I'm curious how, and it sounds like everything has that design, the same design thinking. I'm curious how you went about designing the packaging for this.
Yeah, it's been a process. We're not designers. It's not one of those things where, if I see it, I can kind of explain to somebody, and if they're talented, they can come back and say, hey, this is what I think you were saying. And I was like, no, that's not what I was saying, or yeah, that's what I was saying. So we got lucky with the logo with a friend of a friend way back in 2016. I just kind of explained to him what I was looking for, and he gave me that logo, and I was like, yeah, that's it. The white, we're all about pure, clean, the transparency. I've been very adamant about, transparency as far as the ingredients we use. We want you to see the product, the colors, vibrancy of everything. We're not hiding anything. Our products can separate. Our peanut sauce separates. All of them can separate. So again, it's all about the transparency. The white, again, the purity of everything. Yeah, and then simplicity. Occam's razor. I just want to keep everything simple. I don't want to overcomplicate and put too much on there, and you can start getting so crazy with everything you can put on a label, and it just starts to kind of like clutter things. And again, we were able to get a good designer that helped us with the label updates. I've gotten great feedback from the labels. I've gotten other people saying, well, what if you tried doing this or that? Explaining it. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what the consumer is looking at or seeing. It's so difficult to determine that. We just want to show you a really clean, pure product that you can easily look at the label and say, wow, this has only got like 5 ingredients. Oh, this has got 7 ingredients. This has got 9 ingredients. Like, they're really clean. Like, I can trust this. And that's really what we were going for.
Cool. That's pretty cool. So it sounds like you, as you mentioned before, it's something that is kind of intuitive. You see it. It's not something that you spent a tremendous amount of time analyzing over. You really in that case had to trust somebody else and just delegate it to that person to really, and that person looks like they did a great job. Is that the same person who actually designed the website? Because the website's also beautiful.
No, different people. It was initially a company that I had met through my veteran group that I'm in, and then they designed, and we went through, and all the imagery is all on Kristen and myself. All the food, we make all that food ourselves. I plated all that food myself. The photography, half the photography is like us at home, and then the other stuff is we took it down to a studio in Austin here, and then we actually did a whole cooking thing down there, and then they took all the shots. But I plated it. All the food is real. We made it all. We ate it all. So yeah, I mean that's us. Color schemes were kind of like a discussion that we had between the designer, my label designer, as well as the website designer. Yeah, it's always a moving target. I think change. It's like people, we change. things change, right? Your what you like, what you see changes. So, you know, we've changed the website from this version to where we just, now that we're focusing more on e-commerce with the approaches we're taking, we needed the Shopify site to be able to help convert over to some of the things we're doing from the paid advertisements. So the Squarespace just wasn't cutting it. So we needed to switch to Shopify. So we took that advantage and helped change some of the way you see things with sliders and more visual. We're going to add more elements, more dynamic elements as we go with video and so forth. Just keep trying to grow and build off of what we've already created. Again, we're trying to give that like clean, pure, earthy family, because that's what we are, feel to everything on our website. And we want you to, you know, feel comfortable and homey and trust that you can get pretty Thai and you're not gonna waste your money. We're gonna give you 1,000 things to do with it. You're gonna have so many things you can do with it. You're not even gonna have to worry about what to do for dinner.
I love that. I love those three adjectives: clean, earthly, clean, pure, and earthly. That's another element of your brand. That's actually pretty cool. I want to go back into e-commerce, into your new focus on e-commerce. But to transition to that, have you done influencer marketing in terms of either paying people to promote your products and or seeding product to influencers? And if you did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you? And what were the criteria for that?
Yeah, so we just started doing some of this through one of the groups that we're using to help with our Google ads and our Instagram ads. But they do it kind of organically with a team of people that they bring in. We've gotten reached out to by a lot of people on Instagram and so forth, and I'm very picky about, you know, I want you to actually, you know, care about the brand kind of thing before I go pay you to just, you know, post. Maybe you have 100,000 followers and you post it, but I'm all about that authenticity of what you're trying to do. So we just started tapping into this group, and we're using them because my e-commerce manager, who I trust, works for them and trusts them. So again, creating that, you know, kind of that trust element is big with us. Because I just don't know. Again, it's foreign to me, Joe. Influencer marketing and everything else is just foreign to me. I want people to actually want to try the product and want to cook with the product, which I think you will once you try it.
I wouldn't look at it as foreign to you. It's just that you are after a very specific goal. You're after the realness, the authenticity, and the context. And this is this is a repetition of the same challenge you mentioned you had with brand ambassadors. You're really looking for people to not just hustle another product, but rather to organically promote the product in a very contextual manner. This is a great, I think it was earthly, pure, clean, pure, and earthly Thai product that can elevate your everyday life, your everyday spice, bring that restaurant experience to you. And if you're going to promote any influencers, if any influencers are going to promote it, they better promote that. Or any brand ambassadors that are going to demo in a store, they better promote that concept.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's, you know.
Yeah. I don't look at you as you might be not familiar with the marketing space, but you seem to have a very, very clear goals in terms of the targets you want to hit. Now, it does sound like you recently took on an e-commerce manager. At what point did you decide, like, getting into stores is not enough? I need to get someone to focus on e-commerce. Also, e-commerce is really expensive. There might be more margins direct to consumer, but it usually costs a lot more money to actually get that consumer. So, at what point did you decide we've been doing well in stores? Now we have to bring on an e-commerce manager.
Yeah, I think it was over the last 6 months when we finally decided that, you know, seeing the trends coming from, you know, people being home and cooking, and really just saying, okay, now we need to do it. You know, we need to, you know, it's like we're in the big leagues. We're in some of the best retail stores in the country, but we're not playing with the same equipment. I feel like, you know, all these other guys that are out there putting things out, and like I feel like I walked into the stadium on bat day and they gave me a little tiny bat and I'm like, hey, you're up the plate. Go hit. And I'm like, I don't have a real Louisville Slugger. I got this little tiny. Well, yeah, but you got to hit the pitch. And we weren't playing in the same arena as these other companies when we have the product to stand up to all of these companies. And I know that. And I know that our product speaks for itself. But if you don't know about it, somebody else doesn't know about it, it does us no good. You have the best product in the world. So that I finally, with some traction we had last year, some growth, I was like, okay, let's yeah, it is expensive and it scares the heck out of me every single time I see my the report of how much we're spending on ads. And I'm like, oh my God, like no ROI. What's up with that in marketing, Joe? No ROIs. Like well, we can't promise anything. And I'm like, I wish I could tell an investor, well, I can't promise you anything, but give me your money. You just can't do that. So yeah, it's scary. But we decided, we're seeing the trends go towards that way. And, we've been doing this long enough that we wanted to finally start playing in the same arena, because we have the product, we have the brand to compete.
Yeah, I want to speak actually about this no ROI. What I found is that the business development cycle, I'm not talking about the actual creating the process really, but the business development has three elements. There's the branding, which is really the brand identity of the product, the mission statements, everything behind the brand. Then there is the marketing, which is generally that amplification of that brand, getting it out there, getting on store shelves, getting having influencers promote it, having influence whether for free or paid, all different examples of that, and then the sales. And every brand has a different market, a different piece of what they're able to do, the different allocations, and every part is important. Just a brand without marketing and without sales, you're going to run into cash flow problems very, very quickly. Just marketing without a clear brand, you're just going to be very good at confusing people. And
Yeah.
and just sales, you won't have a recurring business. So it's really important to understand that. And then also, when they say there's no ROI in marketing, you're in business to make money. So that might not be a good marketing strategy for this specific brand. Every piece has a different puzzle, and some are based on investments, depending on their financial cash flow. I do want to get into, I didn't discuss this before, but whatever you're comfortable sharing, was this self-funded? Did you get investors, and what was the general trajectory of that process?
Yeah, I mean, the CPG side of it is fully self-funded. We've been grinding it out for the last 6-7 years off of that, slowly churning, staying small, funding ourselves through catering so that we can keep grinding with the business and doing everything. And we still we still haven't taken on investment for Pretty Todd. So, it's going to come at some point, but it's kind of like that game where you're running out of gas in the car and you're saying, how far can I go before I completely just stall? Just keep pushing it. Part of me because I'm curious, but other part because we've went through hell to get to where we're at, and at every level. And I don't want to just give it up to anybody just because they have money. I want the people again to be passionate about what we're doing, passionate about our brand, passionate about us, and want to be there to help us take this to where we think it can go. So again, it's a lot of principles. I'm very based in principle. But yeah, we're self-funded.
Cool. Now it sounds like you did make a decision a couple months ago that you have to bring on a partner. How did you go about? And I shouldn't say a partner, an e-commerce manager. How did you go about making the decision of who to choose?
Yeah, well, okay, so I'm involved in Bunker Labs. It's a veteran entrepreneurial nonprofit. If you're familiar with them,
Sure.
and so I've been involved with them for the last couple of years, and they send people sometimes. They're like, hey, you're looking for this, you're looking for that. Let's see if we know somebody. And they just happened to be the neighbor of the CEO, who they said, hey, you should talk to this guy. And I started talking to him, and very similar in nature, very quick, which I really appreciate, communicative. And I'm like, well, they've already vetted them, they already know him. So I really used that, and trusted that. And that's really, what allowed me to take that leap of faith with him.
Cool. And where do you see the longevity of this brand? Do you want to keep it self-funded as long as possible? Do you see an exit strategy? Or are you just observing in terms of that, just taking it one day at a time and looking at the next step?
Yeah, I mean, I always say, we're gonna sell at some point, because there's more things that we want to do um, with our foundation and other things like that. Eventually, want to get to, and you really can't do all that when you're doing this full time like we are. But I don't know. I mean, I say I'm gonna sell. I mean, we'll see what happens in 3 to 5 years when we're hopefully at X revenue, and then I'm like, no, let's keep pushing it. Let's keep pushing it. Let's see how far we can get. You know, because yeah, I don't know. I think it comes from I don't know. I say I'm going to do that, but I never know, Joe. Yeah, maybe. Maybe we'll sell. Can you hear my
Okay,
little
so
girl screaming in the background?
yeah, that's adorable.
That's my 3 month old.
Oh wow, congrats.
Thanks.
Anyways, wow, it's amazing you're growing a business and a family at the same time. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I do want to mention that we do have an audience on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. We do a lot on LinkedIn. You did mention you'd be if anybody's looking to carry it in their store, you'd be happy for them to either reach out to you to buy the product. They could deal with all the wholesale accounts, etc. Is there anything else that you're looking for in terms of any professionals?
I don't know. We just want to talk to people that want to try our product. Whether it be just an everyday consumer or a retailer, or mom and pop retailer, all the way up to the some of the big ones. There's some retailers we won't go to, we don't want to go to, and it just is what it is. Eventually, I want every consumer to be able to try our product because I think everybody should have the ability to eat quality food. You shouldn't be controlled because you can't afford to. And I think that's, growing up the way I grew up, you had to eat red color 5, yellow color 6, this and that. And, I don't want you to have to do that. So every retailer, I would say at some point, but yeah, reach out if you're a retailer, like I said, do us a flavor, cook with us, give us a try.
No, I didn't ask this before, but is there? It seems like you're very focused on retail marketing and getting into the consumer. Have you seen this pick up in restaurants? Is that an avenue that you're looking to? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that's an avenue we'd love to get into because they are made for restaurants. We have one chef in College Station that does use our products, and so that's been good.
Is it
It's
a
hard
Thai
to
specific restaurant?
no, no, no. It's not. It's more like New American kind of twist. But he has multiple restaurants doing different things. But no, yeah, I mean, it's funny because I started this as as a restaurant quality product. You would think chefs take it on, but then chefs it's like this line where like either they make their own stuff. And I'm like, you're not making your own sweet chili sauce. I see maple oil over in the corner. Like, you're not doing that. Stop BSing me. But it's time. Eventually they're gonna trust it. We were talking to food service, but then we ran into an issue with our manufacturing. We had to bring it in house. So that's kind of on hold right now. But that'll eventually be something that we look into because it does need to be in restaurants. Our products do need to be in restaurants.
That's interesting. I noticed like certain coffee shops, like they feature Starbucks, they feature Pete's, and they do that once the brand is established enough. So it's a win-win for them. So I wonder at what point the restaurant will be a feature for them to have it, that you're a selling point for them. That would actually be pretty cool. Yeah, so that's interesting how it sounds like just organically you got into the retail space before the restaurant space, but I'm sure that's a big thing. I do have dietary restrictions, so I always ask every company about this. Is there a way for your product to be kosher?
Um,
The
well,
vegan ones could technically be certified kosher. You would just have to,
yeah,
the co-packer would be able to have to certify it.
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, because we were approached by a lot of people trying to sell the kosher at the food shows. So I know, yeah, and because I know the ones with fish in it, we really can't do. I mean, there's potential for it. Not that I don't ever want to do. everything I possibly can do from every certification standpoint. But again, there's a cost associated with all of this. That's it's very expensive to do these kind of things. So yeah, I mean, eventually, it could definitely be. Some of them could be.
Cool. Wow, thank you so much. We've really covered a lot. Episode 8 of the Brand Spotlight. Before we part, I do want to thank the audience and then ask you one more follow up. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in, whether it's LinkedIn Live, YouTube streaming on the Brand Spotlight channel, and Facebook Live, the Brand Spotlight. And anybody tuning into the replay on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube also has a replay, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you can find your favorite, any of your favorite podcast apps so you can listen to this. Robert, do you have any parting words, and where can we find you?
I mean, I think I've said a lot. So just, I think at this point, hopefully you trust to try our brand. If you're in Texas, you can find us at, your local HEB, Central Market. If you're in Austin, find us at Wheatsville Co-op, Times Market. If you're in states that carry Meijer, if you have a Meijer store near you, you can find us in the condiment aisle of Meijer. Those are the grocery stores that we're in currently. Otherwise, you can find us on Amazon. We're Prime on there, as well as Snack Magic. So if you're shopping on Snack Magic for your company, you can find us on there. Fair.com if you're a small retailer. Then our website, prettythaibrand.com. You can find us and try out all of our products. Check our 5-pack sauce sampler, our 8-pack sauce and spice sampler, and kind of elevate your cooking experience in your kitchen as soon as possible.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Robert. Thank you for our audience for joining us. This is episode 8 of the Brand Spotlight.
Appreciate it.